The Battle Cats is a mobile game by company Ponos that is based on cat units attacking other animals and creatures that gets progressively weirder the further into the game you go. In this video, I will be talking about the worst units of each rarity, some being easier to determine while others were quite difficult, as there are a lot of units that serve no real purpose for that respective rarity. So sit back, kick up your legs, grab some snacks, and get ready for my ranking of some of the worst units in the Battle Cats. Notes before I start the video. I will not be using collab or version exclusive units, and all unit stats will be at level 30. For the worst normal cat, it was not that difficult to decide, as all of the other cats in this rarity have some sort of use in cheesing stages, cat combos, or just being a good unit in general. The unit that I picked is Bird, UFO, and Flying Cat. First of all, their stats are absolutely abysmal, with a measly 10,200 health, 5,610 damage, and 2,244 DPS. This unit has no real use as a crowd controller with these stats. They also have a pretty specific niche, which is a 20% chance to weaken angels for 4 seconds, which when combined with their nearly 2-second attack frequency, does not help them because most angel enemies are meant to inflict debuffs or tanks or other backliners. This could have some use against 4 of them, but by the time you fight him, you might already have a better unit for this niche, like Talented Sanzo Cat, who has better weaken chance and a faster attack rate, which makes flying pretty much useless. It also has some pretty good cat combos, but one requires 4 slots for a Research Medium combo, and the other requires Sodom for a weaken effect up, who is an Uber. This unit is just not very useful in general. Moving on to the Special Cats. The worst special cat in the game is quite a surprise, as this cat can be obtained quite early on in the game. Coming from the June Bride of the Devil event, Agent Egg number 203, or a Clown Cat. Clown Cat may seem like a good unit on paper. Zombie Killer, 30% chance to slow zombies for 3 seconds, and even Soul Strike, which is quite the rare ability. But when you look at this thing's stats, it all falls apart. It has a pathetic 10,370 health and 2,193 damage with 685 DPS. The only thing that this thing is killing is low magnification peons, like Zoj, Snake, and Zorako. Even then, by the time you get his true form, you'll probably already be done with zombie outbreaks for Empire of Cats. Speaking of his true form, it costs a substantial amount of behemoth stones, but not too much, costing 10 red and 10 purple stones, respectively. This may be not the highest cost, but considering the beast of a unit like Courier costs exactly half of this, it is not really worth all that effort unless you're a completionist. Also, a huge downside of his Soul Strike ability is that he will not be able to push up the field in zombie stages because of his minimal damage, and when the zombies do revive, they will still have most of their health unless you have another Soul Strike unit like Cat Chief or some Ubers from the Mighty Recon Corps. Another thing is his Zombie Killer doesn't do much because of his garbage damage. He just sucks. Rare units are quite unique, as they all serve a lot of purpose. Some are specialist tankers, like Ramen Cat, while others are generalist damage dealers, like Cyborg Cat. This one serves as a generalist tanker, which sounds amazing, as they even have the exact same stats as Wall Cat, who is one of the best meat shields in the game. Killer Tank Cat, or True Killer Tank Cat in his evolved form, is almost an exact copy of Tank Cat, minus not having a true form at the moment. And one extremely bad downside. He costs the most out of any unit in the whole game, costing a whopping 7,500 cents, compared to Wall Cat's 150. I know he's meant to be a joke, but his partner in crime, Killer Cat, has gotten a true form recently, Radical Cat, which massively reduces its cost from 7,500 to only 900, and grants it a massive stat buff, strong versus floating, immunity to surge, and Behemoth Slayer, which makes him much better than its base counterpart, Mohawk. However, Killer Tank Cat does not have a true form as of yet, so it makes him hundreds of times worse than base Tank, as Tank can also evolve into a Racer, which buffs its health by a lot. To add on to that, you cannot even get plus levels due to being a unit which you get from clearing a stage, Horde of Cats. So until they get a true form, they will be the worst rare unit in the whole game. The worst super rare unit in the game was much easier to farm than the others, because of the little amount of units, and a small amount of collab and version exclusive units. This one is a unit that comes from multiple different sets, but not quite all of them, making it more rare than most super rare cats. Cat Base Mini, Junior, and Ultra. This unit has pretty mediocre stats at level 30, as before its true form, it has 17,000 health, 1,088 damage with 241 DPS, 350 range, 5 speed, and 2 knockbacks, which is not the best. In its true form though, it gets a massive damage buff, going from 1,088 all the way to 3,672, and it also increases its range by 10 to 360, but that's not that big of a deal. Also, its main defining trait is its wave. Before its true form, it has a level 3 wave, and after true forming it has a level 4 wave, which does not make that much difference because of its low stats. Due to these stats, it can carry pretty hard in the early Empire of Cats, but after you hit Chapter 3, it's pretty much done due to the crazy high enemy magnifications. It also costs 990 cents, which is not much in the late game, but you won't be using it in the late game, right? Right? Anyway, it costs a whopping 5 epic cat fruit, and I guess 1 purple cat fruit seed to evolve, but I guess that doesn't even matter, because how easy cat fruit seeds are to get. For such an unknown unit that has bad stats, 5 epic cat fruit is a bit much. Basically, this is just an early game unit, and nothing else. For the Ubers, this one was easy, Cheetah Cat, the end. But seriously, this one was way too easy, coming from a rarity with the most units in the game. Coming in from the infamous Nekalugas, we have Papaluga. This unit has become sort of a meme in the Battle Cats community for how bad it is. At level 30, he has 30,600 health, which is not much for an Uber, but for a backliner is reasonable. He also has a respectable 61,200 damage and 475 range, which all sound good, but when you look at his other stats, oh boy his other stats. He has a time between attacks of 12.53 seconds, which makes his effective DPS 4,883, which is not that good. He also only has 4 movement speed and 1 knockback, which is horrible for a backliner, giving him 0 chances to relocate, so when he is hit, there is no saving him. His recharge time, like all the other Lugas, is horrible, with an astounding 225 seconds, which means you will probably only have one of him on the field at a time if he isn't dead already. His one saving grace is his abilities, being a 100% chance to curse against non-metal enemies, which seems okay until you realize that he's outclassed by every other unit with curse except Brainwash Dark and Moose. He's also immune to curse and surge, until you realize that he won't be surviving many hits from enemies with surges, and if he got hit by a curse, he's probably already dead because that means there's relic enemies. He does only get immunity to surge in his true form as well, but why would you even want his true form in the first place when its cost is one of the most expensive in the whole game? Papaluga's true form costs 5 green cat fruit, 5 yellow cat fruit, 1 relic cat fruit, and the worst part of it all, 1 gold cat fruit seeds. Who would even want to get that unless you just want to look cool? This true form is so useless that even if you have the materials, you'd be better off spending your gold fruit seeds on the Neko and your relic fruits on slapsticks. The other fruits are just there for some added flair. Just don't use Papaluga at all, please. Some people watching this video probably don't even know what legend rares are because they are just so rare. They are the rarest and normally the most powerful unit from their respective set, being only a 0.3% chance from their gacha. Most of these have a really good use, like Ushiwaka Maru being an insane damage nuker for angel enemies, and Izanami plus Izanagi being insane damage against traded and tradeless respectively. The legend rare I will be talking about is not only not the best unit in their set, but they are also outclassed by other more common and cheaper units. Meet Legaluga, or in their evolved form, Legoland Passland. Now, if you don't have anything else to use, he is a good unit, being a mediocre damage rusher with 51,000 health, 42,500 damage, and only 5 knockbacks and a mediocre 20 speed. This is not ideal for a rusher, but he doesn't have that long time between attacks, so it kind of cancels it out. The thing with him is that he gets severely outclassed by other units, like Ibi NX, Awakened Bahamut, and Amuro Yukimura, and they're all more common than them, with Ibi and Bahamut being legend units, and Yukimura being an Uber. One thing I will give Legoland, however, is that they have a lot of immunities that the other units don't, such as Wave, Knockback, Freeze, Slow, Weaken, and Warp. With all that out of the way, I will now compare him to the other units. Legaluga's stats will be on the top of the screen for each one of them, and the other unit stats will be on the bottom. Comparing them to Bahamut, they have double the HP, almost half the damage, 100 more range, longer attack rate, way slower speed, 1 less knockback, and an around 20-second longer cooldown. Conclusion, she's Bahamut. Next up to the ring is Iddy NX. Comparing the two, Legoland has almost double the health, around 20,000 less damage, almost double the range, 1 second faster attack rate, less than half the speed, same amount of knockbacks, and a 30-second longer cooldown. The thing with Iddy, though, is that Iddy has the ability to do insane damage to relic enemies. Insane damage lets any units with the ability do up to 6 times damage to that targeted trait, letting her do up to 357,000 damage in a single hit to relics, compared to Legoland's only 42,500, making Iddy deal 8.4 times more damage to relics than Legoland. Conclusion, just use Iddy. Finally, we have Immortal Yukimura, the true form of Sonata Yukimura. Comparing them, Legoland has over 20k more health, around the same damage, more range, higher attack rate, way slower speed, but the same knockback count and more than double Yukimura's cooldown. But Yukimura, similar to Iddy, deals massive damage to black enemies. Yukimura also has talents, which allow him to resist freeze and slow, and strengthen by 50% and 40% health. Against black enemies, always use Yukimura, but against other traits, we don't have talented Yukimura, I would actually use Legoland, but if you have his talents, obviously use Yukimura. Another reason why I picked Legoland over any other Legend Rares for the worst unit is because all the other Legend Rares have at least one stage where they have some use, but Legoland, sadly, does not. In conclusion, all of these units are either really bad or severely outclassed by other, more common units, so do not bother wasting your XP and cat fruit on them unless you are grinding user rank or are a completionist. Actually, you know what? Let's make a tier list for these units. I want to rank them based on how good they actually are as a unit, not based on their ranking for their rarity, or else they'd all be an F tier. On this list, SS tier is going to be top units like Fonoa and Greater Balrog, and F tier for being the worst of the worst units like these random collab units I found. The first cat up here, Bird Cat, is a D tier unit. Not the best, but you can use it if you don't have any other choices. Next up is Clown Cat. He's F tier, no real use other than the 5 cat food and user rank. Ranking Killer Tank Cat was easy, F tier. Cat-based Mini was not too difficult, because it's good in the early game, but it does fall off heavily after that. Because of that, E tier. Papaluga was pretty easy to rank, as he is outclassed by just about every unit with Curse, so he goes in F tier. And finally, Legoland Passland is C tier, as he's not the best rusher, but he can still be used pretty useful. With all that out of the way, I would like to thank you all for watching, and this was a school project.